Okay guys, just filling my strike water into my mash tun at the moment. I use a ruler to get my volumes. I've just calculated what that is on the length of the ruler, as I don't want to put a sight glass into my boiler for the still. There's the element guard kit from Still Dragon. It's real sweet, I like it. And it's just going to a analog temperature controller, and it goes into a thermocouple in the side there, just so I can set the strike water near enough to what I want it to be. Now, okay, now once the water's just been transferred to the mash tun, I'm now recirculating through this herms coil, which is in here. The water going through the herms coil at the moment is 49.4. I'm going to mash in at 55 degrees for my first protein rest. Now, my hoses at the moment are all a bit all over the place because I really want to get quick disconnects for all of them. But until that stage, I'm swapping hoses over, and I don't actually, this hose here is not rated for anything more than 60 degrees, but I have to use it anyway. I'll be looking at getting some more silicone hose like this when I can. Now, at the moment, I've just wired these up, these little pumps, just into these little 1 amp phone charger things I got off eBay. 110, 240, 12 volt. Those little brown pumps are 12 volts, so yeah, that works quite well. Now, I'm led to believe these pumps are waterproof as well, so partly submersible, but it's just nice to know that if you get a little bit of water on them, they're not going to blow out. I made a little copper manifold in there, like everyone else has, because I was worried about the suction from the pumps. I just had a single section of copper in there initially, but now I've got a full manifold just to help with the suction while I'm recirculating. And yeah, I'll just let that get up to 55, and then I'll dough in. Right, now we'll just quickly switch the pump off. I'm up to temp now. Just take this hose out so I can give the mash a good stir. Sit there alright. And I'm just going to mash it, dough in this. Now I haven't calculated for heat loss with the grain, because as soon as I've doughed in, I'll just start recirculating again, and it'll come back up to temp, which is really nice. Put a fair bit more in there. There's probably about a kilo left in the bucket that I'll need to just give it a good stir. There's nothing to it really. See, everyone worry about dough balls, but I've never actually seen one, so I'm using Beersmith for my recipe, and this beer is going to be a what do they called it? Bingle's Brew. I'm a hoppy, so it's a hoppy IPA. I've brewed it before, and I love my IPAs, so what better to have lying around the house than a couple of real hoppy beers. Right, that's the end of the doughing. Okay. turn that off. I forgot to turn off the temperature controller to the element in the herms coil. You don't want to you want to have the water flowing through it constantly, otherwise it'll just boil what's inside the coil. I recommend getting one of these stainless spoons for any of your work. They're pretty well essential for getting the good mix on any of the stuff. You know, like even extract is quite thick when you. I did a thick mix of extract the other day, and it was very handy to have that. So I'll just bring that hose back in. I haven't made a proper way to do that section yet, but I will. So I'm just going to turn my pump back on. Just make sure that's okay. You can hear that. See if you can get the flow. You can hear the pump working a little bit to get the solids out. We'll turn the heat exchanger back on. Right, that's good. Okay, sorry about that. I was doing it with my hands there. Okay, you can see here it's quite kind of milky. So this will be the fall off section. You know, if you weren't using a recirculation. So I try and just coil that hose around there somewhere. Now I try and have it at the back of the esky because the outlet for the pump's up here. So I hope that the hot water's coming through the back section there. Now I also like to have this hose hitting up along the side here, not affecting the mash so much. We'll see how I can get that configured in a minute. I'll have to get some sort of setup going with this. I don't want to be stuffing around with it. Anyways, I'll switch this off and organise that, and I'll get back. Okay, so I had a bit too much mucking around with the return from the herms coil, so I just run it through my sparge system. I fly sparge, and you can see it should clear up quite quickly in there now. I've just got some copper tube there. I've cut hunks of holes in it. Just showering over the top there. Hopefully that'll clear it up. That seems to anyway. Yeah, see how it goes. I might incorporate that into each run, but I'm just a bit worried about blocking. You know, if any grain goes through, those holes will block the wort from going through. Alright guys, things to note, I've just stepped this up from 55 to 62 degrees in the mash. Now I'm just constantly recirculating, and you'll see here, you know, the reason I set this herms coil up is for the ramp times. So it's such a small volume of water, the kettle element in there can heat a lot faster than using a herms coil. You know, if I was to have a herms coil set up in the boiler here, you can see here, I mean, just in a couple of seconds I've gone up 0.3 degrees. So, to give you an idea. Now, it seems to be recirculating quite well. I haven't got a light for this, but you can see, I mean, it's trickling through there really nicely. The pump's got plenty of pressure there. They're a great little thing. Hang on, I didn't set it, did I? So it's still at 55. Alright. Let me set that. So just hold that on. Yeah, I want to set, and I want 62. And I go 62.5. Just right. So you hear the kettle kicking in there now. 2,000 watt boil kettle. You know, look, just a normal household kettle. 240 volt. Seems to ramp it up quite nicely. So yeah, that kettle won't stop boiling now until it gets to 62.5, and once I get to 62.5, then I'll start my timer again for my next mash step. So yeah, no, at the moment it's working out quite well. I have been building a PID controller, but I've had a few dramas because I'm not that good at electrics, so I've put that on hold, at least until I get a couple of beers down with this system, to hopefully, you know, have something to drink while I stuff around with the PID controller. Now in here you can see I've got my T-piece here, and this is just for the vent, this valve, and I would say almost 95% needed to make this system work well. Now my pumps are inverted like this. I was reading one of the guys was concerned about grain getting into the impeller, and if the pump was upside down or up sitting up the right way, it would block the pump. So I've just opted to put my pumps upside down, and due to that, these little bleed valves here are fairly well imperative for the system to prime. You can see here it's only been, I don't know, maybe a minute, and it's ramping up, I'd say 2 degrees in 2 minutes, so a degree a minute. Maybe not that fast, but enough to be able to step up to the next ramp temp before, you know, so I was at 55 for 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes was up, I ramped to 62, and it might take 5 minutes to get to 62, 5 to 10 minutes, and then once it gets to 62, then I start my timer for the next section of the mash. So yeah, it's a good little system. I really like it, and little stainless nipples on top here make it look nice. Eventually everything will be stainless. This little vent line here for the boiler, just to make it look a little bit more professional, I've just got some silicone hose coming out there, and it just comes down into the end of the hose. I mean, there's very little condensation in there anyway, but at least it's vented to the atmosphere, so we don't have any overpressuring in that chamber. Yeah, while I'm mashing, I've added more water to my boiler. There's about 45 litres of water in the boiler, and that's going to be my sparge water. So just on my analog temperature controller here, I've just set it to, I'll go to close to 78 degrees there, and come sparge time, I'll actually run through this pump out here, out through here, and then I'll go into my temperature controller, into the herms coil, and then I'll set that temperature on here as my sparge temp before it goes into the mash tun. That way I get an accurate temperature of my sparge water as well. And on my last beer it worked really well as well. So Yeah, that's the sparge part of it. So it does help to have two pumps. You don't need two, you can use one. But I find, well, actually you do need two pumps if you're going to use single level, single tier system. So it's just really nice to have the option to pump water around, rather than carrying it, because before I was using a gravity system. I had my boiler here, my mash tun on top of these drawers here, and then I was collecting wort in the bottom here through my sparge, and which meant I had to pick up the hot wort and transfer it back into the boiler. So now I've got two boilers. It's just made life that much easier. Okay, now I've just finished mash out, so I now have both pumps running. You can see both the valves there are cocked just slightly. I'm draining the mash tun, which is going from this pump here into the bottom of the boiler, and then I'm sparging with 78-degree water, but it's going through this pump here, through my herms coil, and then back up through my manifold system I've got here, which is sparging over the top of the mash. You can just hear the pumps, really minimal noise there. So as you can see, I'm slowly filling up the boiler to get my required boil volume, and I'm doing that by just measuring the volume of the sparge that's coming out. I may I'll probably fit a sight glass onto this one eventually and calibrate it, but for now that's how I'm doing it. Okay, everything else is packed away, all cleaned up. I'm just boiling now. I've been boiling for 70 minutes, and I've got my 4th hop edition in here. I'm using these little bags, little plastic bags. They're like mesh bags that you put in your strainer of your kitchen sink, and the hops fit in there really nicely. So far I've got 4 hop editions. The first 3 were Centennial, 21 grams, 14 grams, 14 grams, and the 4th edition was 26 grams Centennial with 1 Citra hop plug. And yeah, no, it's smelling all good at the moment. So yeah, and basically what I'll do is I've got an immersion chiller down there. Once I've done my 90 minutes, I'll start chilling, and when it's down to 20 degrees C or 19, I'll just connect a hose onto the end of the fitting here and drain it into a fermenter with lots of aeration. Yeah, and here's my last beer, the Citra IPA. I'm actually replicating it now with a different yeast. This is with 1056 Y yeast, and the next one will be Nottingham's dry ale yeast, and it's really nice and hoppy. Quite dry, a little bit of sweetness, and just a bit of malt backbone there. So yeah, it's a good little recipe. Yeah, so I've got another 10 minutes, and I'll be doing my flame out hop edition, which is this bag here. I got what is it? 14 grams of Centennial and 2 Citra hot plugs. So yeah, that's to go in after that. And there's the boiler. This is for the steel. It's on legs. Yet to install the drain line on it. Haven't decided whether to punch extra holes in the steel or not yet, but I will. And you can see down here, one hole for the element, thermocouple, 1/2 inch weldeless fitting, and I've also got a 5500 watt weldeless kettle element in there as well. On top you can see my I think the 1/4 inch stainless bolt's been welded in around the rim there, and here's the lid. It just slots in over the top there. Today I'm going to start stripping. So I've been quite busy today. I'm going to start stripping. Alright, this is the 360 litre fermenters that have been going for the last 5-6 days. They've dried out now, and each one's probably got 55 litres of wash in it. Smells really beery, quite nice. I got 1065 out of each fermenter, so I'm looking at about 7%. I've just given them an extra couple of days to dry out, and also I haven't had the time to run them yet. But today I'm going to start stripping them hard and fast. Now this is the herms setup I've done. It's quite an easy little kit for the price. And there's the coil there. It's a nicely wound, it looks mechanically wound stainless coil. And obviously you can see that that's the top of the fittings there we've seen before. I did notice today that I've got some deformation from the heat around this bottom edge here. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do about that. I may have to change this to a stainless vessel. I've been looking at wine coolers, like your wine bottle coolers and stuff like that, for the same size and volume. But yeah, I'm not decided on that yet. But I think it really helps if you keep the water going through the wort going through the coil, so that this doesn't overheat. Overheating is probably an issue. This is the thick hard plastic, and you know, I mean, this is just a trial of how it all works. But today I got a ramp. My ramp times were 55, 62, 65, 67, and I mashed out at 69. So, and it took about 2 hours to go through the whole mash cycle. But just during the mash, I could see that the grain was going through its different processes of you know, the layers of bubbles on top of the mash. So I'm kind of excited about how that's going to work out. I figured I'd show you, just you know, some people don't know, but this is the heat exchanger. We've just got it sitting in there now, still boiling. I'm letting it still boil. I've still got 2 or 3 minutes left. That's just going to sanitize the coil, the condenser, while it's sitting in there. The hops are in there. I've just added my Werflock and yeast nutrients, and fairly soon I'll be switching the power off and adding my Flame Out Hop Edition. Okay, Flame Out hops have been added, and the condenser's on. And hopefully you're going to start seeing some egg whitey yolky sort of stuff in the. Oh, you can already see it in there. It's just the can't remember the name at the moment, but the wort protein separating, and they'll be left behind in the fermenter after whirlpooling. I'll just give those first flame out hops a bit of a jig. That'll get that wort shifting around that condenser a little bit better as well. Alright, what one thing I suggest everyone gets is one of these little portable digital temperature probes. Comes in handy for everything. So yeah, just with the cooling water going through, you can see I'm actually going up at the moment because I've just put the probe in. But yeah, that should come down eventually. What I will set up is a once I've got this a little bit more permanent, I'll set up a whirlpool line. So I'll run a pump from the outlet of the boiler back up into the boiler, and that'll just spin the wort around the chiller. I like using the chiller because it pretty well guarantees me that it's going to be sanitary. I'm not too sure about these plate chillers yet, but we'll see how we go. As experience will probably get better. You can see it's going down there. It does help if you jig the water around a little bit, but it's getting a little bit too cold to handle now. I'll just leave it now and just let it do its thing. And I might actually grab my spoon and start doing a little bit of whirlpooling as well, just to get all the hop and protein trub into the center of the kettle, so it's away from my outlet valve before I add everything to the fermenter. Probably take about 15-20 minutes, maybe half an hour to get this down to temp at this rate. So we'll see how we go.